Welcome to Sales Tax and More, your go-to resource for all things state tax related. Now, here's your host, Michael Fleming.
Hello, everyone. Mike Fleming here, founder of Sales Tax and More and host of the Sales Tax and More podcast, where we talk about everybody's favorite topic, which is, of course, sales tax. Now, today we're going to be discussing CereTax with Brent Walker. But before we do, let's introduce you to Sales Tax and More. And for those of you who don't know, Sales Tax and More is a full-service consulting and solutions firm. And we've got a team of experienced tax professionals. They're dedicated to fulfilling all of your state tax or related needs. We do a lot of sales and use tax returns. We do a lot of registrations, consulting, research, and like our name says, more. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to touch on the fact that I've not been a big fan of most of the software companies out there. Most of you have probably heard me complaining that they spend more money on marketing and on trying to provide services than they do in their core software. Today, I want to introduce you to a company that I believe has it right. They concentrate on their software and they don't offer any services at all. So I'm very excited about what this company can actually do. Now, to tell us about CereTax, we've got Brent Walker with us, and Brent has over 27 years of experience servicing companies in a wide array of industries. And prior to joining CereTax, Brent was an executive director at Ernst & Young, where he worked as the practice leader in the tax automation practice. And Brent has successfully implemented numerous technical solutions for our clients using a variety of financial and tax applications. Brent's a frequent speaker at the Institute of Tax Professionals, where he's a CMI. He's also contributed to the Tax Executive Institute and the American Petroleum Institute, and he's been a speaker for the Texas Society of Certified Public Accountants. Welcome, Brent.
Thank you.
Now, before we get Hey, you're quite welcome. Tripping over my own tongue here, getting started. But before we delve into, CereTax, can you share with our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I like you said, I've been in this business for a lot longer than I like to admit. Started out my career as a sales tax auditor in the state of Texas. So I've got a pretty well-rounded, I've got maybe one of the few that has experience in kind of all facets. Moved from the state of Texas to industry in the petrochemical and refining industry as a tax analyst there. From there, I've helped start up a company that was ultimately sold to a small consulting shop down in Houston. Then actually went into public accounting with KPMG. And then on to EY from there. So like you said, done a lot of work, primarily in the implementation of tax engines, but I also did recovery work, did a lot of consulting work on top of that. So, but my passion has always been in sales and use tax automation.
And we can see by what you've just shared with us that you've got a lot of experience there. So, you and I and some other members of CereTax have been talking about, the products, the solutions that you offer. You want to catch the audience up as to who CereTax is and what solutions you do offer?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So CereTax is an indirect tax software company. As you mentioned, we've made a conscious decision to, I think the best way to put it is kind of stay in our lane. Do what we do best, which is develop software. We want to do that specifically for companies in complex industries with enterprise level challenges. So we want to service those complex industries because we feel like that's where there's too much oversimplification in a lot of those industries. We also want to provide output that's actionable. and really want to reduce the demands. Anytime you do a tax engine implementation, there's a lot of demand on the internal IT departments. And the way that we've architected our system is in such a way that we can reduce, if not eliminate, a lot of the effort that has to be put in from the internal IT department. So trying to skip over a lot of that customization.
Great. Yeah, a lot of the companies out there today, they just don't handle certain industries very well, like contractors, construction related
Yep.
industries, oil and gas. And I know that these are some of the areas that you guys are going to be specializing in. So
yeah,
um,
construction, oil and gas, exploration and production. These are traditionally sectors in the market that are underserviced by the tax engine providers because of the complexity of the content, the complexity of the transactions that need to be analyzed. And it just doesn't lend itself very well to an objective determination of taxability.
yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to utilizing the solution out there because we work with a lot of contractors, and there's just no good company to send them to. So glad to see that you guys are really specializing in that. Hey, obviously you're a relatively new company, and we see new companies popping up all of the time. It seems since the Wayfair decision, all you have to do to say that you just say you're a sales tax expert. And a lot of these new software companies, they don't, they appear almost to be brand new to sales tax. There are a lot of software companies that are very light on the sales tax credentials. But when it comes to CereTax, we see your background. I mean, you've got both sides, the technology side as well as you were an auditor in the state of Texas. Is everyone there like that? Can you share some of the experience of your peers?
Yeah, I think all of myself and my partners are both have a minimum of 20 plus years experience in sales and use tax from all aspects of the workflow, sales and use tax workflow, from front end determination, calculation, to tax engine implementation, development of custom solutions, all the way through to the compliance process. We understand at a very deep level what the sales and use tax process looks like, and the fact of the matter is that it's complicated, and that unfortunately there's a lot of companies out there, like you said, that are entering this market, and they're trying to oversimplify sales and use tax, and they're trying to do more. They want the market to believe that there's a one-stop shop for everything, and they want to believe that if you subscribe to their software or license their software, that all of a sudden sales and use tax is going to become easy and you won't have to think about it anymore. And that's just simply not true.
Yeah, some of the marketing out there actually says that. So yeah, it's good that you guys have as much experience as you do. All of you were coming from very successful careers. Why did you all decide to get together to create CereTax? I mean, what problems did you see with the current software solutions? You mentioned some of them already. And what makes you different?
Well, it's a good question. I think from our standpoint, one of the first thing that we saw was a lack of support. One of the things that I continually heard was that we can't get anybody to support our configuration. If we went out and implemented a tax engine application, it was like this finger pointing thing of, okay, well, that's not the software's fault. That was the consultant's fault who did the implementation. And at the end of the day, the end user doesn't know who to contact for support. Is it my implementer, or is it the software, or is it the integration? Is it my ERP? So that's one of the things that we wanted to solve, was we wanted to really concentrate on those complex industry and know that there's one throat to choke. and that's us. You can come to us with any of the issues, and we've tried to create a very robust support organization for our clients. The other thing was that we see that there's almost every solution out there. There's multiple solutions for different, whether it's different sectors of the market, whether it's telecom, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's purchase side versus sales side. The most of the time, the applications that are out there are separate applications. What we wanted to create was one unified platform, so that no matter what industry you're in, no matter what sales side, purchase side, telecom, construction, whatever it is, it's all going to be managed through the same platform. And you can only do that through the use of the latest technology, the serverless architecture that we've based our platform on. The other solutions that are out there have been around a long time. Some of them have been retrofitted to be a cloud-based application, but in the background, it's still the same old technology and the same old processes and the same desegregated sort of applications that are out there serving different purposes and different requirements for configurations and that kind of thing. And then the other big thing that we saw was just lack of visibility into the results. There's not an application out there that you can see, okay, this was the result, and as I analyze that result, how do I proactively manage my configuration based on that result? So most of the time, a company will spend, in some cases, millions of dollars on the implementation of a technology, and then the users are afraid to touch anything because they're afraid they're going to mess something up. So it's kind of like they implement it, and then the keys get handed over to the users, and then they don't know what to do with it from that point forward. These systems need to be constantly monitored. They need to be, the configurations need to be constantly updated, and they need to have output that they can look at that will give them the results in such a way that they can go back into the configuration and proactively manage it on a go-forward basis. So that was kind of the big thing, is giving the users the ability and the control to support their own configuration without having fear of messing something up.
Yeah, I love all of that, and it's what we definitely need, our clients especially. By the way, I like your one throat to choke. That's the first time I've heard that. But one of the things when you talk about visibility, this is almost like having a research solution built into your tax engine. I mean, you can literally pull up the research and the citations, the statutes, or whatever guidance is generating the taxability underlying it. Am I correct in saying that? That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that we tried to do, is we wanted at the lowest level of detail, whether it's a purchase side line item, AP line distribution, or sales order, we wanted every transaction to be supported by the authoritative research to support the taxability that was determined. So on any transaction line, you can actually reference the taxability of that transaction. So it's going to give you the statute, it's going to give you the rule, regulation, hearings, decision, policy letters, anything that we've collected in that our content team has collected to support that transaction is visible on every transaction. If you go into any other application, you'll see their taxability code, but you can't see state by state what the taxability is, whether it's taxable or non-taxable or exempt on a state by state basis. Where that's one of the things that we really wanted to provide, is that way when under audit, first of all your data is contained within our application, and then all of the audit support, taxability decisions are also referenced on each line item.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely wonderful, and no one else is doing that. So I applaud you. Now, you've really answered my next question uh, previously, but because it's such a big issue for me, this is, software companies just don't concentrate on the software. They get lost in the marketing, they get lost in trying to provide services, and that's where they make some of the biggest mistakes. And unfortunately, when they're making mistakes, their customers bear the brunt of the problem. And what I really like is about your business model is you're concentrating on the software. As you said earlier, you're staying in your lane. Um, just because this is so important to me and a number of my customers, you want to share your thoughts a little bit more on this about not providing the services?
Yeah, I mean, we want to. I mean, our focus is on accuracy, right? We accuracy and support. So we've built an application that with the underlying rules engine that allows the system to be very accurate. So at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to provide output that allows either the client or the client's representative to either support an audit or to provide output for compliance that's easy to upload into whatever compliance application. We do not do compliance. We're not in that business. We're not in the consulting business. We're not even in the implementation business, really. So we have partners that will provide support for implementation. We have partners that will provide support for compliance, for audit support. Our job is to build the best software and support that software the best way we can. Our job is not to provide professional services that are outside the scope of what our intended purpose is. So you're exactly right. We want to focus on building great software, accurate software that produces output that can be leveraged either by the client or the client's representatives, whether it's the front end of the process or the back end of the process.
And that's one of the things that excites me the most. It's this concentration on the software itself. So many of the other software companies, rather than building something themselves, they go out and buy a company. And I've heard it said that, I won't mention any names, but so-and-so is a great place, is a destination where great software companies go to die. Because once they get there, they're not supported anymore. Like you mentioned earlier, it's not all one solution. It's like you got to sign out of this and sign into that, and you have to have multiple subscriptions. So I really like the way that you guys are going. Now, one of the other things I really liked was during our conversations and demonstrations, I was very intrigued that CereTax is a great primary solution, but it's not only a primary solution. I mean, there was one case in there where it was used to add on to one of the existing software companies to plug their holes. This subject we could probably talk about all day. So knowing that we have limited time, could you briefly give us an example of where you're actually connecting with one of these other software companies to better improve the client experience?
Yeah, it's a great business model for us because it's in particular on the purchase side of sales and use tax. You have this situations where we've got a few clients that already have an existing tax engine implemented, and they've spent a lot of money on that, but they're not exactly confident that they're getting the right results. So what we're able to do is to provide a batch upload process to take the results that they're getting. It's a combination of the results from their tax engine and data coming from their ERP system in a flat file that's formatted specifically for upload into our application. So once a month, what the clients do is it doesn't have to be once a month, it could be as often as they want, but typically it's once a month. They'll upload a file that contains the tax results from that previous month's period, and our system acts as a backdrop to identify how much tax was originally paid on the purchase transaction versus how much tax does our application say should have been paid to drive a variance. That variance is going to be either an overpaid variance or an underpaid variance. And then from there, the client can either elect to accrue for an underpaid variance as a use tax, or they can go back to vendors for refunds where they've overpaid vendors, or they can de-accrue a previously assessed a use tax. But they can also go and leverage those results to optimize their current tax engine configuration. So wherever we're finding those gaps, wherever those variances are, represent some sort of gap that we can either resolve through an additional accrual through our output, or by taking that result and going back and optimizing their current configuration. So we've had a lot of success with that method. A lot of clients interested in that, and they can sign up for is a month-over-month solution, one-time diagnostic assessment, or they can subscribe to it for a longer period of time.
Yeah, and I was really intrigued by all of that. And when we talk about variances are created for the most part because the limitations of the software companies. They just don't handle, as we mentioned earlier, some of the industries as well as others. So it was really interesting to see that example.
Well, the purchase side is a good example of that, because purchases are inherently more complex because, as you know, the purchaser has ultimately responsibility for remittance of the tax. And so and only the purchaser knows how they're going to be using the items and services that are being purchased, especially in complex industries like manufacturing or telecom or construction. So when we have the unique ability to drive out those very subjective determinations, where in a real-time tax engine implementation, you have more limited variables that can be passed through the integration for mapping to the content within the tax engine, whereas we can use more subjective variables like line descriptions, PO descriptions. We can build rules that derive other variables out from existing data. So it's a very unique way of doing it.
Absolutely. So Brent, anything else that you want to share before we close it out today?
Well, I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to get on here and talk a little bit about CereTax, and we're glad to be affiliated with you guys, and looking forward to lots of new opportunities.
Yeah, same thing here, Brent. We appreciate the time you took to explain about CereTax to our audience here, and we look forward to introducing it to our clients and utilizing it. So, in addition to us, if someone wants more information about CereTax, how can they find out more if they want to go around us for some reason?
Well, we hope they don't do that. We hope they just go through you all the time. That would be great. We're at, our website is CereTax.com, CereTax.com, and you can look us up that way. There's a contact page to put information into. If you want to reach out to me directly, I'm brent.walker@CereTax.com, or my phone number is 678-447-7633.
All right. Well, thank you very much again, Brent. And if you have you out in the audience have any sales tax needs, we offer a whole lot of solutions and services. You can reach Ellie Moffitt at Ellie Moffitt at salestaxandmore.com. Salestaxandmore.com is all spelled out. Or you can visit our website at www.salestaxandmore.com. Again, all spelled out. And we offer a series of webinars that provide for CPE credit, which we may see Brent back on speaking about use tax in the near future. So again, Thank you, Brett, for joining us today. Thank you for all in the audience that have joined us today. And we hope to see you at the next installment of the Sales Tax and More podcast. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to click subscribe and check out all the free resources we have out on the web.